So now the next one is the mental health in IT Dataset, and I ended up with two columns here. And I replaced the position, or I replaced the name, which of the following best describes your work position, with position, and have you been diagnosed with a mental health condition by a medical professional with diagnosed, as column names. Um, for the position, I'm going to keep it simple, and the main thing that I want to do is get rid of all of these positions where the position is multiple positions with a bar. So basically, backend developer is a position, but then some people are both backend developer or front-end developer. So there's a bar in the string, and then this person's executive leadership and supervisor slash team lead and developer and so on. And if I kept all that data, I would have to figure out what I was going to do for count. So like if one person has 3 job titles, do I increment the number of positions for all of those job titles, or do I do like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or and to keep it simple, I'm just going to go ahead and drop all of those rows and then look at what the resulting data is. So let's start with that. I'm going to go ahead and start with filtered here. And actually, I need to go ahead and reload the data. So this is the downside of using df and filtered over and over again, is I have to reload it each time. I should have really gotten the habit of using separate names for that, but it's going to be okay. So here's the simplified data, and here it is again. And this time what I want to do is I'm going to start by looking at the value counts of the position column. So this is going to give me a look at what all of the value counts are. And we see the most common ones are backend developer, 263, front-end developer, 125, other supervisor, team lead, backend developer, and then ... and then a whole bunch of like people with multiple positions. And there's actually 264 distinct things here, 264 distinct job titles. But most of them are going to be these ones with bars in them. So I'm going to get rid of all of those values and see what we have as a result. So there's a couple of ways to get rid of all of the strings that have bars in them, but I'm going to use apply, which is something we'll be talking about more later on. So what I want to do is apply a function to each row in this data frame. So filtered square bracket position actually returns a sequence, and I want to apply a function to each value in that sequence, and that's going to return another sequence. So inside here I put a function, and we'll see this a little bit more, but what I want to do is write a function that is going to return false if the job title has a bar in it, and true if it doesn't have a bar, because I'm going to want to keep the ones where this value is true and toss the ones where this value is false. So I'm going to define this as a function called not has bar, and it's going to take a stir. Actually, let's call this position. And then basically what I want to do is return position.find, and then the find function takes a string that I'm looking for. And optionally it takes a start and an end position to look within position to find this substring. But if you don't specify those values, it looks through the whole string. And then what this is going to return, this find function is going to return the position of the first occurrence of this in that. And if it doesn't find it at all, it's going to return the number -1. So if we do that equal -1, this is going to be true if position has a bar in it, I'm sorry, if position doesn't have a bar in it, this is going to be true. And if position does have a bar in it, this is going to be 0, 1, 2, whatever the position is. And then so this whole thing will be false. So now if I go ahead and apply that to this column, I should get a sequence of true and false values. And then I'm going to use this sequence to select or reject rows in the original table. So I have filtered square bracket, and then I just put that sequence in there, and wherever this value is true, I'm going to keep that row, and wherever it's false, I'm going to flush it. So position, I only get the positions where there are no bars in here. And then once again, this isn't changing anything in place. So if I want to keep this result, I can say filtered square bracket. Actually, just let's say filtered is equal to that. So this is returning a copy of the data frame, and then I'm storing that back into filtered. And then let's look at filtered value counts to see what we ended up with. Oh, and actually, I need to do position. This is actually showing me all the combinations of position with diagnosed. And it's actually a reasonable, not a huge set of results. So I could look at that, but I think what I want to do for now is just pull out the position here. Okay. And so we see that there's a manageable set of positions, but we have enough data for most of these to do sort of meaningful work. Maybe we want to drop HR and sales because that's not really a lot of data to be drawing conclusions about. But certainly towards the top end here, we have plenty of data. So I think this is okay for now. And then the other column we want to look at is filtered sub diagnosed. I think I had a D there. Is that correct? Yeah. So these are all yes or no values, I think. Value counts. Yeah, so I have 410 no's and 407 yeses. And then what I want to do is just convert this into Boolean values. And so I'm going to use replace to do that as well. So this time, filtered diagnosed is going to be equal to filtered sub diagnosed dot replace. And then the dictionary here, if it's yes, I'm going to replace it with true, and if it's no, I'm going to replace it with false. And then let's look at filtered after we do that. Okay, so these are all true and falses now. And then let's look at the info. Right. So position is still just a piece of text, so this is object type, but you'll notice that diagnosed is now a bool, so we were able to successfully convert all of those yes and no values into true or false.